The total number of distinct signs in ancient Egypt varied widely from over 100 during the Middle Kingdom to thousands during the Ptolemaic Kingdom. The structure of the script was extremely difficult to be deciphered. However, the plaudits of decipherment of the script generally goes to the French philologist Jean-François Champollion in the early 19th century. Hieroglyphics are broadly classified into three types: phonetic, logographs, and determinatives. Phonetic glyphs are symbols representing sounds. In English, the letter M represents the sound ma, the letter D represents the sound da, and so on. Similarly, ancient Egyptians used symbols like the owl to represent the sound ma, a hand to represent the sound da, and so on. A logograph is a single character which represents a sound in its entirety. For example, we have traffic signboards containing a single symbol which conveys to us the direction of our travel. Similarly, early Egyptians used a picture which represented an entire word. The pictures of a man and a woman were very commonly used to show the same. Sometimes these pictures were associated with a vertical stroke under it to show that they are logographs. The third type of symbols, or the determinatives, were placed at the end of a word to give a better meaning of the word and were not intended to be read out. In this video, we will try to figure out the phonetic alphabets of the ancient language, the characters or pictures or symbols which represented various sounds when transliterated to English. The vulture represented the sound similar to A or I. The lower human leg represents the sound of B or Ba. The language does not have any symbol which can be lucidly transliterated to C, so we jump to D. The hand represented the sound of D or Da. The human arm represented the sound of E, or to be more accurate, it represented the sound of Ain. The horned serpent represented the sound of F or Fa. The pot-shaped structure represented the sound of G or Ga. The wick-shaped structure represented the sound of H or Ha. The feather represented the sound of I or E. The serpent represented the sound of J or Ja. The cup represented the sound of K or Ka. It may be noted here that the ancient Egyptians did not have any symbol representing the sound of L or La. Hence, we move on to M. The owl represented the sound of M or Ma. The shape of water represented the sound of N or Na. Again, the language did not have any character or symbol representing the sound of O. We will hence move on to P. The reed mat represented the sound of P or Pa. The hill represented the sound of Q. The mouth represented the sound of R or Ra. This may look like a stick, but it actually is a folded piece of cloth which represented the sound of S or Sa. The loaf of bread represented the sound of T or Ta. The quail chick represented the sounds of both U or W. The double feathers represented the sound of Y or Y. The both represented the sounds of both S and Z. Now there are some symbols which signify sounds that cannot be expressed by using only one character in English. There are a few of them. The tether, which was used to tie up domesticated animals, represented the sound of TH or Tha. The sieve represented the sound of KH or Kha. Apart from these, there were some additional signs to which had its own meaning. The cartouche was an oval with a tangent on it, indicating that the letters inscribed inside it was a name of royal lineage. The Sirik was a picture of the gate of a palace with a falcon sitting on top, which also indicated that the text contained within it was a royal name. No other civilization has captured the imagination of people like the Egyptian civilization due to its elaborate art and architecture. The decipherment of the script some 200 years back has helped us a lot in understanding its social strata, but there is still a lot to unravel.